Every other time with Eric, we are back. It's a new year. I think it's the second episode we're shooting this year. Quite happy, quite excited. We have an interesting guest today. Mr. James Ayugi, how are you?
I'm good.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
How's your day, man?
Busy one?
Busy as usual, eh?
Busy. Kutafuta mkwanja.
Still looking.
Yeah, boss. Hii pesa haitoshi.
So interesting, you know, when you texted me, because we've pushed it over, we're actually shooting later than we had planned. So when you texted me and said, you're waiting for someone at the bank, and my producer is like, no, but banks are closed. I'm like, for us. Not for everyone. Lakini karibu sana, man.
Asante.
How is January treating you thus far? 2025, it's a new year.
Interestingly, I like January simply because it gives you some free time to plan for the year. So less stressful and you can focus. So this January has been good. Strategically trying to align to see what we're going to do. Kwanzia February, watu waanze kuwa na mkwanja. Yes.
So backstory. I always give a backstory to my audience. Where we actually met was at a petrol station, gas station. You were grabbing some coffee. I was also grabbing some coffee.
Yes.
And an introduction was made. And one thing, I always remember things people say. You said this was just on the cusp of before 2025. And you said 2024 was a year of learning. What did you mean by that?
Of course, everything that I thought I knew, I didn't know. I've been more focused on my work in the last probably 20 years. And I had shut down the world. So 2024 is when now I a little bit opened up. And I discovered so many stuff. Yes, I discovered the more I listened to people and just to get other people's perspective, I realized that there is more opportunity to explore because it reaches a time when what you wanted to achieve, you've achieved. And sometimes people start losing focus and there's no motivation for something to do. So what happened in 2024 is when we achieved what we've always wanted to achieve as a company. And this was to onboard the whole government into automation. So that year is when we achieved it with the support of the president and his administration. So there was really nothing bigger than that. And I needed more time to reflect. I tried so many things. Guys are like, hey, James, you have so many ideas left, right, and center. Before I came back to my senses and said, okay, this is the company I've built. This is what I know. I can just focus on now scaling and going to bigger markets.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you've been living under a rock and you don't happen to know who we have before us today, Mr. James Ayugi is famously known for, of course, you're synonymous with eCitizen, right? The advent of eCitizen, the digitalization of all government services. So for the people who've been living under a rock, in case, I'm sure by now they already know who you are. But you've touched on what I'd capture it as almost self-actualization.
Yes.
Because as I am right now, even as earlier today, I was doing some exams because I'm trying to achieve certain other things in career. My producers, we talk off camera, we're all still trying to achieve and thrive. That's the fuel that keeps us going every day. So what is that moment when you feel like you've achieved what you needed to achieve? Is that a crisis point? Is it a top of the mountain celebration point? How does that feeling actually feel? Because it's something we all are on a quest for.
I think the moment there's less to dream, you've pretty much gotten what you wanted. That's when you feel you've achieved whatever you wanted. When there's really nothing more for yourself to achieve. So, but what I've learned is there's always something new. So you are setting boundaries, you're setting targets, but the moment you achieve that, you will be in a different state and your mindset will open up and you'll start actually pursuing new dreams. So currently, that's pretty much how I'm now structuring my vision. I just realized that, of course, there's old age. So you need to think of your old age now. So this is when you're investing for the older version of yourself.
You look like a relatively young guy. Have you crossed 40?
I'm just there. I'm just there. Yes. So that's pretty much it.
And what does it take to? I mean, we've known of. I've heard of digitizing exams in a school, and that was still a grand thing. We talk about digitizing all government services. How harrowing is that process, or what kind of planning and meticulous planning does that take?
First, experience. Experience is key, because even with all the money, you may not be able to automate government services. Why? Because there are so many interests, left, right, and center. And without the support of the same government, by that I mean leadership, it is difficult to automate. So remember, we've done this for the last decade. Only 2024 is when officially the government decided these guys have been piloting this project for the longest. Now we want them to try and actualize their vision. So for the 10 years while we are doing the pilot, we are also perfecting the system and learning internal processes. So when the government wanted to automate 5,000 services or 20,000 services, we were ready for that moment. And this is what people sometimes don't understand. Opportunities, of course, as for those who are ready to grab them. It needs to find you ready. So we were ready when the opportunity knocked, and we delivered.
And the opportunity knocking being that, I'm just doing some rough math, you are 30, thereabout.
Actually in the 20s. We started this when I was in the 20s.
How does one prepare themselves for such an opportunity? Because that's a grand thing. For you to be shortlisted, I'm sure there are competitors, probably, other people bidding for the same opportunity. So how did James find himself at being ready for such an opportunity at the tender age of your late 20s?
From when we started IT stuff, this is back in the early 2000s, government was one of the areas we have targeted. So we were reviewing how governments operate, what are their processes. So by the time this opportunity was knocking, we had already established ourselves with a few ministries. And of course, we did some pro bono work for government for some years. Before now, we were able to showcase those as our portfolio. Because for you to work for any government, it is usually very important to showcase what you've done for a similar entity at national level or international level. So tendering for government is designed for people with experience working in any of the governments. So they'll need like four previous projects of similar nature in any of the countries in Africa. This is because if you've not done implementation in Africa, you may not succeed even with all the money. You need to understand how people in public sector work, how they are motivated, and how to get in fast, deliver and get out before a project is fatigued. So, and our strategy is usually go in, get out working. So by the time you've not even figured out what's happening, we're already live. And you see, in software development, most projects are usually man hours. So they'll extend a project so that they have budget, billables, you understand,
yes.
Man hours. But we put in the time, the 10 years, to have a product that is ready to deploy. So it's a workflow engine that is easily customizable. So by the time we were being regularized, we already done pilot.
And software development is that something you train professionally, and before, perhaps if you did before that, is that something you always had a knack for, as when it comes to matters IT, software? Where did that?
So software engineering, especially from the past, there are very few schools, even now, that were doing proper software engineering. But the good part is there are so many tutorials online, and this knowledge is everywhere. So anyone who wants to learn software engineering, they can be able to access this knowledge. So for me, it's self-taught. Self-taught. But again, now we are dealing with a bigger team. We even have better engineers and the different teams. In software development, it's just programming is just one piece of it. You have guys in charge of testing. You have guys in charge of implementation. You have guys in charge of security. They have DevOps, people who are just in charge of the servers, and business analysts to gauge what clients want and those kind of stuff. So it is usually a team. So now we have bigger teams of people who are so good in their craft, and they're the people who now keep on improving and making the product better. So for now, I'm focused more on business development and getting new opportunities.
So as you develop, because I'm assuming you're at the helm of your operation, you're like the leader, you're probably the
CEO.
The CEO, right?
Yes.
But when you started off, because you've talked about putting a team together, the right team, the talent, and having a vision and pushing, what are some of the teething problems you faced? Because growing or scaling always has its own challenges.
Talent is hard to find. In the Kenyan market, people believe that sometimes a degree is enough. But when you're dealing with tenders, there are certain certifications that are very important. Out here, for you to be a professional, you need a professional certification. So let's say, example, you are a software engineer and you did a degree in computer science. You need to now do a specialized course. It can be in machine learning certification. It can be in software development process, whatever it is. But you need to get professional certifications.
And can you do the professional certifications without the degree?
Some like UI UX is pretty much easy. Software development pretty much is amongst the few career options for those people who just want to deep dive and focus. It's something that anyone can just start studying online on YouTube, and they should be able to start developing something. And now that we're even moving into a more complicated space of AI, I feel there is more opportunities presenting themselves.
And the kind of work you do, because first of all, your demeanor is that of someone who's very chill about life. You don't seem like a stressed guy. You come off very, even though we communicated on phone before you came, very chilled. Hauna maneno mob, to put it simply. But I'm assuming by the time you've reached where you've reached, you've kind of rubbed shoulders with all manner of the who's and who in government, in society. And even transitionally, because if you started 10 years ago, it means you've even moved from one dispensation to the next. Now, how did you master your dealings with government? Because, or is it, do you let the work speak for itself so loudly, or how do you navigate those things? Because I'm sure there's also resistance.
This is pretty much straightforward. What we did first is to get into government, just like a citizen, and try to understand the problems they're facing. So how are they working? So I'll get into our office. Guys have files everywhere. They're looking for a document to sign. It is lost. You understand?
This is just as you, or with some level of clearance?
No. This is now just as me.
Okay.
It's easier just to have an appointment and to ask just questions. And what I usually use is, I'm a student. I'm doing some research. I just wanted to ask some question on X, Y, Z. And then someone will be like, okay, I can give you 20 minutes. And then I'll ask questions. And then they'll give you all the answers they want. And then I go and try and develop something to solve that specific problem. Like now, one of the biggest problems across Africa is employment.
Yes.
There are so many people in leadership who don't know how to create jobs for their population. And we are only few millions. And we have other countries with billions of people,
The
and,
Chinas
and they've created jobs for their community or for their citizens. So it is a problem, and currently we are looking at how do we solve that. So we are also launching a platform that will be able to connect professionals with people who actually looking for them. Because currently in most of the cities, if you don't know anyone, you don't get opportunities.
Yes, yes.
So when I look for talent, in most cases, I'll just advertise, and then people will apply, and then I'll make a few calls, and then I'll get the one I want.
Merit based.
Yes, I try and avoid someone referring someone, my friend.
Team.
But sometimes it works when, especially if someone is so good and your friends know, they can tell you, hey, by the way, I know someone who's really good. You should meet them. So for those kind of referrals, we accept. But in most cases, we just advertise, and then we hire someone who's good. So we try and avoid referrals.
But part of what you do is you create efficiency, because digitalization has brought about efficiency.
That's correct.
And a lot of times, those deficiencies attached to perhaps an analog way of doing things are tied to things like corruption. And digitization would stifle corruption. And corruption tends to push back. So as you guys were navigating your whole process, did you find some of these challenges coming up where people are like, unakuja kuchoma, ama you guys are spoiling, slow down?
That is usually what happens, because you're not getting into an ecosystem that is not working. Remember, a system, even a manual system, is a system. It's a process that works. So there are people used to print papers. You're affecting a full ecosystem. When you're digitalizing, you're not just affecting the employees of government or the workers of government. You're affecting even suppliers. So in some cases, they will go and finance some litigations. You'll just face all sorts of people who are against you. So the beneficiaries of the manual system are mostly the people who will fight, because now you're messing up with their meat or with their revenues. And so within governments, people will not tell you directly, but you can just tell someone is resigning after there's no more leakages.
It happened at when I was a student pilot at here in Nairobi at the airport, Wilson Airport, when the parking changed from the old system where we used to pay and get a rip-off ticket.
Yes.
And once it was changed to the whole other system,
Yes.
there are guys who turned in their badges.
Yes.
They were done, because for them, what they were making vis-a-vis what they were able to pick up every day didn't make sense. So the system didn't work for them anymore.
True. So that's what happens. And most of the guys who are veterans, they are very kawaida guys. You'll meet someone in the counter just with oversized suit.
Put an oversized suit on the screen. What you're talking about.
Those guys are usually the ones who should just follow them. He'll realize the guy is probably staying somewhere in Karen.
Yes.
And they're always the simplest. So most of those veterans know how to. They're not like the young money. Young money, they'll want to show off in social media. Those guys don't care about social media. So they'll just be simple. No one will ever know how they are doing their stuff. So that's how most of the older regime of guys who've been in government for long have been doing it.
But you're talking about, you've used a very, of course, politically correct terminology where you're talking about things like litigation.
Yes.
Where let's go to court to stifle.
Yes.
But I tend to believe there's also other means that are used, a more, I don't want to use the term mafia, but a mafia-esque approach to perhaps stifling what you guys are doing. And when faced with such, does protection from the highest level keep you going, or what keeps you going?
What I've learned, it's not easy to automate a government without the blessing of the CEO, who is the president. Why? Because it is his agenda. So you're generating revenue for the president to be able to pay his employees and service their budget. So the moment the order comes from above, it is easier to automate. And that is pretty much why we were successful in Kenya. It is just because the president was very specific. This is what I want. And he could call people, where are we with this? And it became agenda item in all government meetings. Digitalization is agenda number one. So, and there was a full ecosystem around automation that really made it happen. It is not possible for us to do this without the support of the government, the department that eCitizen departments that is in charge of just coordination and doing all that. It is the government that actually decided we want to do automation.
And was this in tandem with perhaps the global trends of how things are done in the world in the more established countries, or was it just also to be able to create more revenue collection altogether with these efficiencies?
You see, interestingly, we are pretty much amongst the first countries to go fully automation. And guys are coming to Kenya for benchmarking. And guys are like...
From all over the world or from Africa?
From all over the world.
Wow.
Of course, there are guys who are trying to pitch one part of the system. The guys who are coming in from different parts of the world with their sort of technologies. But people all over Africa are coming to Kenya to benchmark because it's working. So we are moving more into e-government. After e-government, you go into smart government. So e-government is pretty much making sure that you have electronic government. Now smart government is where now there's some serious employees overheads. Like there are so many workers who work for the government, and once you've automated some of the services, you bring in efficiency, and now you can be able to work with fewer people and generate the same revenue. So a more efficient government is a lean government. And now when you're starting to talk about smart government, where you're using AI, you're using all this, now that is the future when it comes to government automation. So this is something that I've learned is a continuous process. You think that you've automated a service and you think you're done, you've just started, because technology keeps on changing. And probably one day you don't want even to make an application. You just want to key in your ID. There's a pop-up and you pay without even typing anything.
Yes.
Because the government has all the information. Why should you be filling forms over and over and over?
Yes.
So this one now, when the government has your information, they can just use your liveness, your face, and you can access anything without having to fill in forms and all those kind of things. So that is saving time for trying and reviewing things that you already have. And of course, more revenue. When you make these processes easier, more people will apply for these government services, and it's more revenue for government.
Now, not all resistance to such things is, one would say, perhaps corruption fighting back. Sometimes there's also legitimate concerns. Things like, of course, jobs. And have you encountered any unions, for example, where unions are saying that with the digitization of certain services, certain jobs will be rendered redundant? And there been actual pushback around that, things like unions, or do governments, agencies have?
Yes. I remember when we launched the companies registry, lawyers were fighting. They're like, oh, you guys, we make money through manual applications. So there was a pushback from especially the legal space. But after some time, they've realized they're making more money now.
Efficiency, yes.
Efficiency. Because I remember one of the use cases where a customer said they used to travel from Shags, get a room in Nairobi for 1 full week just to try and register a company. And again, you'll be conned. There are some guys who used to be there just telling you they can help you push.
Yes.
They give you a certificate that is fake.
Yes.
So you actually think it's real, and then you go to bank, and then wanakwambia, this is an existing company. And you've already paid the guy, and he's disappeared. So we got a lot of pushback from professional bodies who didn't know the opportunities that are brought by technology. And with that, of course, we also remember back in the early 2010s, when the smartphone started becoming a thing, people thought cyber cafes were going to die. And because now you can access your email from a phone and all that kind of stuff, we created jobs. All these cyber cafes were converted into eCitizen agents. So they were able to help people who want to access services, print, and they charge over and above. So I see digitalization as we need to embrace digitalization because it creates more opportunity for more people. People should not be looking at digitalization as inatuharibia kazi. No, it always creates new opportunities. Even AI, it creates more opportunities.
What about autocracy, where sometimes there's a resistance? Maybe people call them conspiracy theories when they say that if Gava has my information so easily and so easily accessible, it can also be used against me.
The government always has information anyway. You see, you can't say that you want to exist in a country as a citizen and your information is anonymous. So the government will always have data and is the owner of all the data. And it is good for the business community, it's good for everyone, just for KYC. You want to be sure you're dealing with a Kenyan that is 18 years and above and has certain credentials. So it is through the government databases where you're able to verify some of these things. Some countries don't even have national ID, and they are really struggling even with revenue collection. So we are privileged as a country. From the previous regime, at least they tried to put up structures, and we can say everyone is identified, and at least if you want any information about yourself, you can easily be able to get. Even if it is still in the manual books, it will still be found.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, please don't take offense to this question. It's just a question. But did you guys have anything to do with Huduma number? Because that came and went and we were left kind of not understanding what really happened.
No, we were not part of Huduma number. It was an idea that was tried and it just didn't work.
It never worked out.
It never worked. And this pretty much, it was not solving problems, Kenyan problems. You understand? Because probably in a year you're interacting with the government once or once in 3 years. So you want to sort my problems now. So the Huduma number strategy did not work and did not resonate with most people because it was just a MasterCard. It was just a payment channel.
Yes.
There was really nothing special about it.
Now, I'm sure you've gotten this question quite a bit. And of course, there's no way we would have interacted without me asking about the famous surcharge, the 50 shillings. What exactly is the 50 shillings and who does that go to?
So 50 shillings was gazetted by the government, and it is a government control fee to sustain the ecosystem. So currently the government collects it, and then it has its own mechanism through contract on how it pays its service providers. So currently it is the government that collects it, and it's the government that decides how to spend it.
So there was a myth that the 50 bob was yours. I'm sure you've had people ask you and trying to calculate how many transactions are done a day by 50. Yes. And saying, hey, Mr. James must be collecting.
Yes.
So that has nothing to do with you?
No, that has nothing to do with us. And we all know how governments operate. If that was the truth, I'll not be here comfortably with you. You understand? There's no way you can take government's money. There's no way you can take government's money and still walk around free. it is the one thing you want to try and avoid. So from onset, it is government, and it was gazetted. It's government money, and they charge it to pay for the services. Remember, and in one of the interviews, they said, Kenya, we are still not rich. So you want to make roads, you want to pay people, you're not collecting enough money, and you have a system also that needs to run. So, like the way they are doing with the road levy,
Yes.
where it is collected, it is not pegged on the budget. So it goes into maintenance, and so that's pretty much how convenience fee is structured. It is structured just to maintain the ecosystem. And for as long as the services are running and whoever the service providers are, the government will always have money to pay for those services.
And have you ever thought about, because you have expertise in this specific realm of the digital space, ICTs in tandem with that, and when like a role like the ICT CS came vacant before it now was taken up, of course, by Mr. Kabogo, is that something that you considered? Is that something you would consider? Because that literally puts you in a driver's seat from the government side of things.
I feel we have a bigger role, and we are pretty much more focused in making life easier for all citizens of different countries. So we have a big obligation around the world that will need our expertise. We've already done it in Kenya. Now, we'd rather use the same skills and help other countries. So being a CS is not something that crossed my mind, or even going into politics.
Okay, that's probably a wise move. Now, at some point, obviously, because again, it's no secret you're a man of means, right? But again, you look like you're a very sober-minded individual, right? Now, when the quote-unquote money started coming in, right? Even with my little salary that I earn, the first time I got it, obviously, excitoziko, buy a few things you don't need before you realize and settle and start managing money correctly. Now, of course, different scales. So what grounds you? Because we fantasize all the time about what I'll do if I just got. So what keeps you in check and just going about your life civilly? And
I think new ideas. That's the only thing that will keep me in the office until 1 a.m., 2 a.m. every day. When you're constantly innovating and think of new ideas, your brain is occupied with the things that you want to achieve. The moment you don't have anything, like Watu Apple, now you want to spend your money. So, and Nairobi is one hell of a place. It will show you manners. You'll get friends who will show you how to spend money. And they're there. So I have tried as much as possible to reduce. I've partied in the past. In my 20s, I really did probably everything that anyone would want to do. But these days, I'm more focused on just new ideas.
your circle is tight, small circle?
Very, very small circle. Yeah, I try and maintain relationships with a clique of people, and then now building new relationships with strategic partners. That's what I'll say. You just need to find what you don't have and get people who can do it better than you, and then partner, and then make a piece of the cake. At the end of the day, we want to do everything, and that's usually where the problem is. I'm a believer of teams. Delegation. You need people who are specialists in different areas working together as a team. And my good example is usually Formula One. There's several guys, from researchers to the driver, and all these people have their roles. So when they are changing the pit stop, everyone knows what they're supposed to do in seconds.
Have you watched that live?
Yes.
You've had the privilege?
Yes. And I even have a book that is coming based on that. It's called The Agile Circuit.
Do you have a poster? We can put it up for the viewer to see.
Yes.
You'll send me.
Yes, I'll send it to you. But it is basically just understanding how they're doing it, and then you try and replicate the same in software development. So the book is designed to software development community, software engineers, for them to create efficiency. Basically, that's it. So it is a concept that I believe works perfectly. The biggest problem that we have in the market is one man wants to do everything. There's no way you can compete in a Formula One as a driver ukiwa one man. Watu wengine wako na team members. So for you to be faster, you need also 12 team members. Otherwise, utakuwa unafanya guesswork. You don't have professional testers. You don't have all this kind of... And in most of the time, guys think that it's money. I didn't start with money. I started from the ground. Like, you really don't need money. You just need...
a good idea.
you just need, first, a good idea. Second, people. The team that can work with you. You need to know your role and the role that other team members can play, and then you start.
Now, I've asked about what grounds you, and of course that's tied to the kind of access you would have.
Yes.
But also, grounding, of course, now comes with a negative connotation for like turn up, doing things that are not useful. But also, with access to wealth, comes positive access. You're able to also elevate yourself.
Correct.
So what are some of the things you've been able to do that are positive for you? What kind of access have you gotten that you would say have changed your life for the better?
I feel currently just hiring the best team, because professionals are not cheap. Getting people who are professionals is pretty expensive. So that's where I put the money, because I remember a friend sometimes back, I wanted to open a club.
Yeah.
This is back in the days. And then this guy asked me, how did you make this money? I had made my first 2 million and I was like, I want to invest this money. Naogopa venye itaisha. The way unasema pesa inakuasha.
Yes.
Inakuasha na pia unaogopa inaweza isha. Now it was like that. So I went to this guy and nilikuwa namwadmire in the Shags. The guy usually has clubs, nini. I want to open a club with 2 million. Hata zingine mimi jikumbusha na cheka tu. With 2 million. Akasema, how did you make this money? So I did a website and I got paid. The guy told me casually, hiyo pesa rudisha tu hapo. Penye metoka, at least you know how to manage it. Utapata ingine. Club utaibiwa. You need to be there and utapoteza pesa and uta lose hopes. So I have learned that if you're making money from a certain business, invest there. So try and be better than yesterday, so that at least the company can have a future without you. So currently, those are the things that motivate me. I want one day to exit the company, and I believe it will be run by professionals to the future. And then now I can start mentoring younger guys who are starting up to help them structure their own businesses and also raise funds for them for startups. Yes. So I feel that is pretty much more of my calling. The networks that I have access to, I can be able to use it now to empower other talented fellas out there.
And this is now my last question about things to do with money, so that we can shift gears. Do you get asked for money a lot? Do people ask you for money?
I think kila mtu anaulizwanga pesa. Even like there's just supply and there's always. Na hiyo budgeting, me I don't even budget. Mi najipata tu saa zingine sina pesa. You earn well, yes, you have all that, but you don't know. Ukianza kupiga, I tried one day ati kituma pesa unaandika chini, ikafika day 5 nikachoka.
January.
Yes, so people of all sorts will ask you for money, mostly relatives, watu wako na shida na fee, people just have problems left, right and center. And where you can, una contribute. So I believe in life, we will always at some point ask for help from people. No matter how wealthy you are, you can't do everything alone. So you'll need people in this world. So even the people who borrow, pia wao, it's just one moment in life yenye mtu hayuko poa, one day yeye tena ndo atakuwa juu. Mimi there are so many people wenye sahizi they used to be my landlords. Now we see it. I used to pay rent ya 2,000 bob. Sahizi that guy ananikumbushanga ulikuanga late na hiyo 2,000. I used to be late, yes. So yes, there's always people asking. Zingine unajua tu ni ukora, unasema. So I try and gauge.
Kuna deal mahali I need just like a 40 just to
hizo stories za deal hizo sigengeage. Vitu legit. And zingine I'll not give money. Sometimes I'll just help someone see things differently, and in most cases it helps. So where really someone really needs money, that's when now. Najua kuna ile mtu anakuambia hey, nimekwama. Those people are pretty much straightforward. Nimekwama, nisukume. Someone just needs fuel from here to here, or they just need small boost. Those ones, they are straightforward. It can be your brother, it can be your friends. Hata mimi mwenyewe kuna time nimeshikwa mahali na makarao, and you unajipata una pesa and you need to sema hey boss, niko mahali pabaya, so nifanyie hivyo. Sikia mtu anakutumia. So it's part of our life.
And are you a spiritual guy? Are you a believer? What are your convictions when it comes to the bigger thing that's going on where we exist?
I feel everything is about perspective. First, environment penye umegrow. And when you travel around the world, you just realize that we are limited to what we've been taught tangu tuzalewe. There are certain countries zenye hata hawana religion.
Far East.
Yes, and wanakashanga unaongea juu ya nini. So most of the things we know is pretty much what those two wanaitongaje, hao wazungu wenye colonize.
Colonialists.
Everything.
The missionaries.
So I am a believer. I believe, of course, there's God, there's supreme being. In terms of religion, the religion penye nilizaliwa ndo niko tu hapo. But do I believe kwamba it is the main religion? No, squeezy churches ziko more, but ujui which one is which one. But I also believe in just being good generally to people. So you hide kwa
Rosafi.
Just be good, be empathetic, see things from other people's perspective, and in my opinion, you'll relate with more people, because that's the one part that most people forget. Unaanza kuambia mse unakaa hivi, wewe uoni venye anakuangalia. So unakaaje wewe mwenyewe. So when you're pointing fingers to others, wewe ushajiuliza huyo mtu ananionaje. So the moment you start questioning those kind of things, and unaanza kurealize probably world there's a template and a formula. So regardless of where you are, you're able to operate. Ukienda where there is non-believers, you'll still be able to operate. Ukienda penye kuna Muslims, you'll still be able to operate. Ukienda kwa Christian community. So I believe everything I know ni chenye nimefunzwa, and there's still more to learn. So kwa religion, that's one area where I need to do a lot of research.
But you say you've traveled.
Yes.
You've traveled for business, you travel for leisure, or you travel for both?
Both, but mostly business.
How important is travel in terms of just generally, and I always say this for people, I had a guest who said, kuona mengi ni kujua mengi, right? It opens up your worldview, and sometimes, I think you even capture that well, sometimes our points of view are so limited to the things we've seen. So how important would you recommend young people, if given an opportunity, to travel and see the world?
Traveling and seeing mengi pia iko limited. By limit, what do I mean? People want to see what they want to see. You want to buy a car today, you say you want a G-Wagon, utaanza tu kuspot G-Wagon everywhere.
Yeah.
Even though imekuwa kila mahali, lakini hiyo tu ndo unao. So the way our brains are programmed, somehow we attract what tunafikiria. So there's someone mwenye anataka kuwa house help. In their mindset, hata kitravel wapi anaangalia tu venye anaweza fanya huyu kazi ama anaweza fanya hivi ama anaweza fanya nini. Yeye chenye atalan ni tofauti na someone mwenye anaenda tourism or someone mwenye anaenda kuangalia how do these people really do it. So I feel traveling with an intention is pretty much the only way in which you can learn. So if you choose to, example, you're going to Tokyo, nini nakupeleka huko? So what is this the one thing that they are doing better than us that you really want to understand? So that way you can travel, it becomes unaanza kugain from it.
That's a good point of view. And which country would you say that you've been to that impressed you in terms of the things you do? Which country would you say that you are thoroughly impressed?
Interestingly, I like UAE. I find work on systems that work. Because I've been there for both holidays and business, and the country just works. Hakuna hata utakutana na uchafu. I like the way the Arabs are structured huko kwao. So you're in the one area where I really liked how they're doing it. I lost my phone in a taxi after the guy dropped me. So nikaenda kwa reception ya hoteli, wakaniambia utaipata. So there is usually lost and found. So the taxi guy alichukua akaipeleka kwa airport kwa lost and found. When I was leaving, I went there. They told me, okay, what's your phone? Nikapeana description, wakanipatia kusema weka password, nikaeka ikawak. I was given my phone. Something that can't happen here. So also crime rate iko chini sana. So even though there are so many foreigners huko, still bado they've managed to put systems and structures that work. So that's the one place where I really love the way they're doing things. I just don't like their weather. I love Kenya.
Oh, the heat, huh?
Yeah, I just love Kenya's nini. The worst place is Bangladesh.
Why?
Heat na harufu. Alafu watu wanakubeba na zile inaitwangaje zile manini zenye mtu anaendesha hivi bike na hajaoga, my friend, huko tu kwa nyuma.
From the moment the plane opens.
Yeah, my friend. Inakuchapa proper. And then I got lost. So in the street I was like, English? Tafuta mtu anaweza ongea English. Boss, there is no internet. Umeforget hoteli yako iko wapi, and the streets kila mahali ni hizo manamba hata ujui na inamaanisha nini. That's why I try to look at this our cities with a Chinese eye and I realize these guys understand kitu. Where ukienda China, imagine, and you're in a city with those two, will you even understand where you are?
Nothing.
So that's pretty much for the cities. I love for those big cities. I find them to be, hata saa zingine najiuliza maswali, how do they make money? Because they really spend so much money. I happened to go to a club with a friend.
Yeah.
And so sinajua tumezoea boti, sasa tumekaa kwa meza. So sisi tulienda mapema. Tulipatiwa VIP treatment vizuri. Ikafika kitu saa 9, saa 8 hapo.
Yeah.
Tukasongezwa kando. And then viti zingine zikaletwa. And then some guys came in bana with like, I don't know, 10, 15 chiles. Wao walikuwa wanashabiwa champagne ya ile ya 20 liters hivi. I was like, how much is that? Hiyo ni 2 million one inakuja.
One bottle.
Na inasafiwa. Nikasema, okay.
There's levels,
Yeah, there's levels. Wow, at their level, and sometimes mi usema usisi stress. There are different realities in this world. So ukienda Dubai upate watu wanavaa madesigner na they can afford that in their reality. So usijifanye sasa umeenda Dubai unakuja Kenya hapa sasa unaona wewe. In Kenya it's totally a different reality. Watu watavaa yenye iko hapa. So happiness is just happiness. Level, no matter which level. Watu wenye wako na raha, kuna raha. Watu wenye wanakasirika. So the stress in Dubai is the same stress here. The stress ya mtu mwenye anaishi kwa nyumba ya umbu na mtu mwenye anaishi Karen or whatever it is ni the same. So I feel the perspective of how people see the world is limited to the environment. And the moment you try and open up and see the things, uanze kuona vitu differently, is when now your eyes itaanza kuona other things. Hiyo ndo exposure sasa. And mostly, it's the people you interact with. If you interact with people who first are not learned, are very creative in the way they see the world, you will not see beyond that. Yeah, so try and get a wide range of people who can open up your mind and you see the world differently.
You know, you've captured a few things there. And one thing I notice about life in general is duality of things. So on one hand, when you talk about what you do for a living in terms of what you've been able, the efficiencies you've been able to create for the government of the day, and probably all the net positives that have come out of that. But on the flip side also, there's people in Kenya and perhaps even Africa are kind of disgruntled with the direction that leaders are taking countries. What happened? What's the mismatch between the agenda being driven at the top and it permeating to the masses? What would you say? There's like a disconnect.
I feel most leaders are losing out on the opportunity to learn from their citizens. There are things that people want in Busia, ni tofauti na the youth in Nairobi, the youth in Mombasa, wako totally na different problems. So we have devolution, which was supposed to sort that, where you have leaders at the grassroots who are supposed to listen to the wazee, to vijana, and then they can suggest laws zenye zitawasaidia. I don't believe these things are happening. So there is all structure, rules and regulations to help in just knowing what your citizens want. But most governments, they don't. So most of the leaders wakishaingia wanaanza kurudisha what they used during a campaign, preparing for the other campaign.
And is that ever going to change with the system as is? Because it's like a self-feeding cycle that happens, and even this next round of coming elections, it seems like we're just on the same kind of trajectory. Is that something that...
It will be hard to change unless there's a total regime change because we need now our kids tuanze kuwafunza from the moment wanaanza kwenda kwa shule, because that's pretty much what even China did. Walianza from ground up. They trained hao watu kuendesha hizo makatapila hizo, sijui wanaitwaje.
Yes.
They took so many guys because they knew they wanted to build roads. But for you to build the number of roads, you need so many engineers who can operate machine. So unaenda asubuhi mpaka jioni, you're just learning how to operate a machine. And that's what they did. They trained so many of them. And now when it came to building roads, there's no one who has done it like them up to now. Yes. So it will need a change, because sisi bado tuko na emotions zenye hata hatujui. Unakasirikia tu mtu for no good reason. You elect a president and you think the president will bring food to your table. You forget that you have your own personal responsibility to do. So the day we will start first financing the people will stop taking handouts during elections, and will be financing, and there's accountability also in this political fundraising. That's pretty much when we will start seeing some changes. But there's a bigger chunk of the population that can still be manipulated easily with 100 shillings and 200 shillings. To me, probably, I don't accept it. But there's someone who doesn't have anything.
Do you feel that famous 25th of last year changed anything in terms of that?
I feel it was a wake-up call, but things have gone back to...
Maybe even worse.
Yes, because now people know how you can mobilize. And next time they'll know BX or social media. So when it comes to security matters, that was a unique moment in our history. It was there were so many frustrations left, right, and center. And it was very difficult to say that someone really mobilized.
It was organic.
It was just, I saw guys walking for so long. There's no way you'll pay these people to walk this distance. I don't know from where. So it was.
So are you saying that they are now, on the government side of things, they're now more prepared in case there was ever anything like that to...
No, but this is just natural. It's just natural. You see, security agencies learn because they are supposed to maintain peace and order. So if there is an event like what happened, they learn from what happened and they'll not. Remember the other time when guys started walikuwa wanasimamishwa sijui wapi huko.
Yes.
Roadblocks ziko huko mbali, so that you can't come to the city. So they figure out how to control this kind of disorder.
Is switching off the internet on the table, you think?
No, you really never say never. You know, sometimes the decisions that leaders make is difficult. You see, people don't understand the stress they go through. So when the country is burning, you can even, if I was president, I switch off. Because media is what now fuels everything. So I feel it will be the president's wish. But I feel in Kenya we are in a more democratic space. We have a lot of freedom.
But the recent appointment, one of them, you know, the optic of it looks like you've picked a guy who is willing to switch off and say, ni mimi, tadu. That's the optic. That's the sentiment that, in fact, even we were discussing off camera. And it's almost like in preparation for the next election cycle, should things go awry. Is that something you...
One thing we need to understand, politics plays a major role in our community. And you'll see countries where they have weak political systems. Wanakuwaga na shida sana. What has worked for us is the multi-party and the fact that we go and vote. Mtu atawin, akilose anaenda kotini, judge akisema repeat, itana repeat, akisema wa ulishindwa, the systems take nini. So I feel politics inaplayiwa with the people in the game. Some of us who are not politicians, we may just speculate why someone is doing X, Y, and Z. But the players in the political space, wow, they know why they're playing politics at the kind of politics they're playing. So the intention might be actually different. And from my observation, I just wanted more young people. I just feel
old guard is being repeated.
I just feel there is talent out here. Even if some of these jobs we could advertise, there are Kenyans who will work. They'll give you a proper proposal on how they are going to run ministries. I actually feel we need all these PSS and ministries. It needs to be something that you actually apply for. That way you start getting professionals, merit-based, and you'll have people perform.
Now, we live in a global village, and someone who does big business like you, global trends tend to affect how people interface with business and bottom lines, etc. Now, recently, of course, we all witnessed Mr. Donald Trump win in America. And, of course, he's entered with a lot of gravitas and bravado, sweeping, what are they called, executive orders. Now, do some of those things permeate all the way to our ecosystem, or will it affect us later?
It does, directly. Why? Because everyone looks after what's happening in America. We are pretty much inspired by everything that comes from America. Even this podcast. Everything. You understand? So they are trendsetters in most cases. They're the people who brought in this thing called democracy, even though I don't know if they're democratic, but they set the agenda. And it's because they control the dollar and they have the money. So I feel, yes, whatever is happening there, somehow it affects the whole world.
Yeah, and I think some of the cultural, social issues that America was struggling with the previous regime in terms of, gender issues and all of that, I think Trump reeling things back to a bit of normalcy was necessary. Don't you think? Don't you think we are going a bit far
I think this time round, people who re-elected him, they knew what they wanted. They knew what to expect from him. Because in the first term, we saw how he ruled. So I feel the American people, to some extent, know the kind of president we're having. So even the way he's doing his things, some people tell you in the last 5 years, America was very dormant. It was not. And Trump is
It's brought back that
you
bravado.
feel
Yes.
there's news in the media. There's
Biden was
something
a non-starter.
Biden alikuwa tu ametulia.
Yes, it was boring. It was actually boring.
Kamzae tu. So that's what people wanted. They wanted a leader mwenye anakwambia ni aje, chukua watu ama mtawekea tax. I'll tax you guys.
Yes.
Na ban nyinyi wote msikuja huku. And then you have to just change. So he knows how to use leverage. And I feel the Americans will benefit during his because he's doing the things that are not popular. But what wanajiuliza, how is it possible that you become a citizen by birth? So it's not happening in other countries. Why is it happening here? So he's having those kind of
hard conversation,
and he doesn't go to fail.
Now, we've gotten the visionary side of you, the business side of you. What about your downtime? What do you do? What do you do to enjoy yourself?
Mini party animal.
Till today,
but nitachapa moja alafu nijipate nimeenda down for almost years. So I have friends that we decide to go and just observe. Again, also party life, there's so much to learn. So when you go out, you want to
data.
You want data. You want to see how are people, what are the problems people are facing, left, right, and center, and what can you do in that space. So I just can't separate myself from business. Most of the time, I'm always just working.
What do you consume entertainment-wise? I'm curious. Like, what do you watch? What do you listen to?
I watch a lot of YouTube, mostly.
Every other time with Eric.
Most of the time, these days, I watch a lot of Chinese content. I just try and...
You speak the dialect?
No. But I try to see the future through the Chinese lens. Because I feel they are pretty ahead. One, they have the numbers in terms of population. They figured out how to solve their problems. And now they are exporting some of these things globally. Imagine you're importing food from China. We can't even produce our own food here. So there's so much just to learn from the Chinese. And at least they've tried to upload some content in English. So I try and see how structured they are, how they have done their cities. And probably this year I'll do a trip to a few cities just to see how they're executing their vision. Just to learn what we might be planning to do here in future.
And who as a person, who do you look up to? Like, which person, past or present, inspires you? That you almost try and formulate your blueprint around? Or, there's a true north. We'll have like a true north. Who would you say that is for you?
I really don't have one specific person.
Maybe you can name a few.
In the tech space, I really... I like Zuckerberg. I just love how he communicates. And he's also young, probably just my age, as you met. So I like how he's managed to build a company that is global, to scale at that level, at that young age. So he really inspires me. He's also very strategic in how he acquires new companies. And very soon he'll be the richest guy, just by the fact that he's managed to have data. So we are using one of his products in a way or not. He managed to get to us through WhatsApp, through Instagram, through Facebook. The Facebook generation will go, this guy will buy something new for even the younger generation. So he just knows how to do his stuff. So he is the person who I think I admire a lot.
That's one. Any
That's
other?
one guy. The other guy who's very constant is Bezos. But I like watching his old videos when he was still
Starting out the hunger.
when he was running Amazon. So you'll see the way he talks about efficiency, systems, structures, bots. There's just so much to learn from this guy. Even when he was starting what's the name of these ebooks?
Kindle.
Kindle.
Yes.
So when you watch the journey on how I started out to make starting ebooks and publishers were fighting, and then now later on they managed to succeed. So I really get inspired by them, and what I've learned is they try and hire the best talent. So to build a good company, you need the best talent. I feel when you have the right team and the right partners, you'll have a successful company.
Now, on a lighter note, switching gears now, as we sum up this fantastic episode.
Did you guys talk about photography?
Photography? You're into photography?
Was unataka kunirudisha kwa hiyo life yangu ya ya photography? Yes,
I think I have a rough idea of the kind of photography. Maybe talk about it a bit.
No, back in between 2010 and 2015, I was pretty much creating socialites. So most of them we are the ones who actually started taking photos and uploading on Facebook, and then now people start becoming influencers, starting with Kina Vera.
Oh, really? You are at the helm of Kina Vera?
Vera, Kina Huda.
Are you friends still today? Or?
Yes. Very good friends.
Yes.
Eotwe. We did very good photos for them.
Where did you get the foresight for that?
Sinikutamani tu. We all know what we want to see.
Yes.
So it was just something interesting. So I bought. That was the only one time when I moved from IT kidogo, even though things were running, but I moved from IT kiasi. I established the studio. There are guys like Buat and other photographers wenye bring kutoka ground saizi. They are doing amazing things.
Do you still have some of those photos you share with me? I'll put them on the screen right now.
Ziko mingi. Ziko mingi. Takupatia.
And someone told me, correct me if I'm wrong, that you had almost like a dating platform. Or like a dating site or something.
Achia hapo. I've done everything.
Yeah.
I've done everything. I've had those kind of platforms. You kill them. You know, when you're shooting in the dark, unajaribu tu anything yenye ujui nini utaangukia. Unaelewa? So, and you don't have, unajua, even dating sites are money making if well structured. You know, you can structure it, you can run advertisements, but you're a one man guitar. So unaanza kutengeneza dating site alafu unapata idea ingine, unaachana na dating site, unaanza kufanya kitu ingine. So at the end of the year you've been just all over.
And socialites, sorry to take you back, because you are the first socialites. Who approaches who? Take my pictures, or let me take your pictures. Who?
No, they'll come, because we had a good studio. We had a good studio in town that at that time watu walikuwa wameenda digital bado. So we had some of the best cameras and people will come. So watu ukiona picha kwa Facebook, they say, and then we used to put logos. And then later on tukakuwa vichwa ngumu tukaacha kuweka logo. You know, that's the interesting thing about marketing. And sema hii logo itaharibu picha. And then tukaacha kuweka logos.
And the logo was, I'm assuming, was
now like example, you put Paneto Photography ama Boat. So mtu akiona, they'll want to get your services. So what I realized that it was free advertising. So someone is followed by 50,000 people, they upload a photo. The moment they upload, you're getting like 20 bookings, 30 bookings, and it used to make some good money.
So a natural businessman, but I've also seen that you're a visionary. Even the things you've done and how you've been able to position yourself. Because, in as much as he casually talked about starting at 30, at 30, most men we don't even know. You don't even know your ass from your face.
Actually, it was 20.
20.
Yes. 20.
And he says he goes to clubs for data collection. That's the first one I've had. But switching gears, because in a quick fire, so I don't take too much of your time. This allows me to capture a few things of how you think. And I'm a bit of a conspiracy guy. I like the idea that things are not as they seem. Oh, did we? Is the world flat? Of course, the world is not flat. But I like conspiracies. So I'll ask you a few questions, and you can briefly, yes, no, but you can also expound a bit.
Okay.
One, do you think we went to the moon as humanity? Did we go to the moon? Those were fake missions?
I think we went.
You think we went? Where would you base? What's your basis?
Based on data that is out there.
The data. Okay. Do aliens exist?
I think they do.
Expound a bit.
Just because all we know is Earth, but we also discover that there are other planets, and we consume oxygen, but there probably other aliens who are superior. I personally feel there might be other beings somewhere, other aliens in other planets.
Now, I'm going to name a few people, and you say the first word that comes to mind. Number one, Xi Jinping.
Strategic.
Number two, Pastor Nganga.
Charismatic.
That's a politically correct answer. Fair enough. We talked about him already, but I always like to hear the singular word. Donald Trump.
Aggressive.
Elon Musk.
Smart.
Last but not least, President William Samoei Ruto.
Go-getter.
Okay. Fine, fair enough. We've had it. Mr. James Ayugi, thank you so much for coming.
Yes.
Every other time with Eric. It's been a pleasure. You made it easy. Your story is riveting. I was about to ask you for money, but I'm not going to ask you for money. I'm gonna maintain manners. I always say, if you're the second, I'd say billionaire to sit in this room. And I always torture myself. I'm like, if I ever sit with a billionaire, I'm going to ask him for money. But I've
It's only because you're like, now you're ending the show. But I would have told you something about even other billionaires. I've learned something. There are very wealthy fellas who own buildings in this city. When you look around, there are buildings left, right, and center. Where are these guys? You don't see them in clubs. Where are they? Because there are buildings all over. And when you meet these guys, they don't see themselves as billionaires. They are just looking for new opportunities every single day. Some of them have not even traveled the world. Na kona apartments. Some of them are driving the 1994 gari nzenzetu. They are just kawaida. So most of the tycoons are simple. Even Elon Musk, wanasema the richest person, that thing doesn't affect him. Ajioni hivyo. Anaangalia venye China inamsumbua saizi.
With the AI.
This AI stuff na vitu kama hizo. So at the end of the day, personally, I feel the people that I've met with so much money and wealth, they humble you on how they just treat themselves. They don't shout. So it's not easy to say, we're a billionaire. Some people are worth more. Some people don't even know how much they are worth. But as long as you can have a conversation with someone who aliangukia bahati akatengeneza pesa, as long as you can have a conversation, I feel that is the wealth that we need in this world. The social capital is just being in a room ability to have a conversation at any level. Kama utaenda kwa high table and you can't talk, you have so much limitations. You need still to upskill mpaka ukuwe unaweza have a conversation at any level. As long as you can have discussions at high tables, definitely you'll be able to be there because you're talking like them. You see things the way they see, and definitely you'll be like them.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from the horse's mouth. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I look forward to hosting you again.
Anytime.
You have an open invite anytime you want to come and say one or two things. Feel free, just hit me up. We'll set it up, man. James Ayugi, every other time with Eric. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. Thank you.
Thank you so much.